Yo guys, it's Haunting Lime, and welcome back to my channel. Today, as I promised earlier, I'm bringing Perrserker into the Ultra League Premier Cup, and I'm pairing that up with my Charizard and my Obstagoon. And the reason why I'm pairing it up with my Charizard is because both Perrserker and Obstagoon share a weakness to fighters, so Charizard acts as a flyer to cover that weakness. As you can see, my Perrserker is ranked fairly high. It's level 40.5, and if you guys do enjoy what you're seeing, please subscribe to my channel, activate the bell icon to know when I post, and also like the video, it really helps out. So on to the first game. So I am featuring two sets with this team, and the team worked fairly well, so on to a decent lead against Drifblim. I'm going to switch out straight away into my Perrserker because I've got Obstagoon in the back as well if he switches out. But the great thing about Perrserker is it has a really ideal moveset to kind of counter the current meta. There's a lot of Laprases, Snorlaxes and Gengars in the upper MMRs, and my opponent brings in an Umbreon, which is really good because I can just throw these two close combats that I reached. So Perrserker gets his energy really quickly with Shadow Claw, and he also punishes the ghost type, so that one went through. So as you can see, it does quite a lot of damage, and I was almost able to get to a second close combat. So I've already brought the Umbreon into, well, half health almost. So now I'm just bringing in my Charizard because obviously Drifblim can be saved for my Obstagoon. So my opponent does have two foul plays for my Charizard. I'm deciding to shield this because I know I can survive two and still have a decent amount of health and get to a Blast Burn before my opponent gets to the next charge move. A good thing about Obstagoon is it also does well against Umbreon, and if this Blast Burn goes through, it should take the Umbreon out. I'm one away, so I do switch out into my Obstagoon and just kind of get the advantage in terms of energy. So my opponent does bring in the Drifblim back, which means he's weak to Obstagoon in the back. So at this point, because Obstagoon can tank anything Drifblim throws at me, I'm just going to let everything go through, including the icy winds. I will get debuffed, but I will, I've got Charizard in the back to kind of get rid of the debuffs later on. So here I'm just going straight for Night Slashes, and that itself is more than enough to take out the Drifblim. So I'm quite curious to see what's in the back. I've still got two shields. My opponent only has one, I believe. Let's have a quick look. He's actually shieldless at the moment, so all I just need to do is just take it out, and it's 1.5 Pokemon against his backline with no shields. So I'm feeling pretty confident, and he has a Magneton in the back, a Shadow one as well. So I was like, shit. So I switched out into my Charizard to kind of get energy ahead, but it was fairly weak, so I got Spark down, which wasn't great. But thankfully, these two shields can actually help me survive against these charge moves from the Shadow Magneton. If it was Wild Charge, my opponent obviously isn't going to throw it because it'll actually debuff him very much and make it even weaker. But because I had two shields, Cross Chop is actually enough to almost take it out, and I can just finish it off with counters. So onto a great game. Good alignment there. So worked out in my favour. Onto game two. So Charizard into Magnezone. So yesterday night I actually faced quite a few Magnezones. I don't face them too often, but for some reason they're always there. The only bad thing about playing Charizard with Wing Attack, I do like it a lot, but it's weak to the Magnezone due to the fact that Fire Spin actually does do super effective damage. So here I did shield the first. I was counting the first Wild Charge, and I tried throwing a Blast Spin. My opponent doesn't obviously switch out. He should. And here I don't fall for the baits because I suspect my opponent to obviously throw the bait with loads of energy stored, and I thought I might survive this Wild Charge, but in hindsight, not knowing the team or not knowing Perrserker's tankiness, I was taken down. But I've got obviously Obstagoon in the back that can actually handle the Magnezone, so I wasn't too bothered about bringing out. So my opponent does bring in a Venusaur. He switches his Magnezone out, and Obstagoon has a fairly decent matchup against Venusaur. I've also obviously got my Charizard as well, so I'm not too worried at the moment. So just go straight Night Slash here. I should outpace the Venusaur to at least 1 or 2. We are even shields, so at this point I do switch out into my Charizard because the switch timer was back in my favour again. I will shield this because Sludge Bomb will take me out from that range, and Wing Attack does generate energy really quickly. So here I'm just going to go straight for the Dragon Claw because this should almost take the Venusaur out, and it does. And my opponent does bring in a Gallade. So this is where kind of managing my team a little better would have worked out in my favour. So I do get to the Dragon Claw, and I do switch out into... I do try to switch out. For some reason I couldn't switch out, but I do have this Cross Chop stored, but the Magnezone was able to farm me down, and It is a mirror shot, but it'll kind of take me into the red. So sadly, I can't actually take it out. I couldn't just farm it out with counters and have the energy left for Glade, but Glade obviously had energy or a Leaf Blade stored in the back before it switched out, so a little bit of lag there. I did try tapping the switch, but it didn't work when I was actually doing it, so unlucky there, but well played to my opponent. On to the next game. So again, learning Perrserker isn't too difficult, but it is about learning it. It's how to play or how to correctly, switch into him. So onto a great lead. Wing attack puts in a lot of work against these fetched. So here I am suspecting this to be a Brave Bird because my opponent was farming a lot of energy, and it was. So great shield on my part. I am going to throw my Dragon Claw because obviously he's already debuffed himself, and my opponent brings out a Crustle, and I was like, what is this Pokemon? I was like, what? I just totally panicked for a second, and then I bring in my Obstagoon, which was a really bad play by me, but my opponent brought his Executor. I think he was trying to save his Crustle, lining up with my own Charizard, which is fair, and obviously he doesn't want his Executor to be lined up with the Charizard, so ideally he could have stayed in. I'm not going to shield this because I do have Perrserker in the back to kind of deal with both the Executor, or the Shadow one, and also the Crustle, so I'm not too worried now. So fair misplay, but I should still have the advantage. So I do almost get taken out, but I knew I'd survive the Egg Bomb.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what
yeah, this Night Slash will take out the Executor, and the Crustle comes in and takes me out, and thankfully with that he wasn't able to get too much farm, and I still have a shield going in with this. My opponent realises it is pretty much game over, and at that point I would have actually just thrown Night Slashes. Close combat would be good, but it is neutral, so not too bothered about that one. So on to the next game. Charizard into Crustle. So a few Crustles yesterday, but immediately switch out into my Perrserker, and my opponent brings out a Driplim, which was a questionable thing, but I guess he didn't really have a great answer to my Perrserker, and I'm guessing a lot of people don't really know what Perrserker's moveset is, so that could be it, but it's fine. I'm happy with that switch. So my opponent is going for Icy Wind. I was afraid of Shadow Ball, so I did shield there, but it wasn't, but it's all good. The next one I won't shield. I'm able to get this Foul Play off and almost farm down the Drifblim. I was thinking this might be a Shadow Ball, but I thought I'm not wasting the shield, so I'm able to get loads of farm off that. And now, depending on what comes in, he brings in a Tangrowth. So right now I'm double debuffed, so I'm thinking I'll just throw the first close combat and get out of here. Because my Charizard is dead weight, I'll try maybe catching a move. I think my opponent was just out of move and he realised what my Charizard was there and straight away rock slided me, which is fine because my Charizard was dead weight and I didn't really care about it at that point because Crustle was still in the back. And at this point my Obstagoon can come in, and Obstagoon does really well against Tangrowth because Tangrowth's Power Whip can't take up to, well, it can't really take the Obstagoon out too much, and obviously Obstagoon doesn't really want to see the Crustle as well, so because I was able to get so much energy, I'm able to throw the first Night Slash, and because I know I can outpace this Crustle to the X's, I'm going to shield. So this first one will go through, and the next one should be able to take it out, so that's fine. My opponent does have a shield, so this one is to actually bait out the shield as well, but I believe he will save the shield for his Tangrowth, so that's fine with me. Tangrowth can't actually take me out. Wine Whips don't do a lot of damage, so I'm able to get to the Night Slash, and this should get the final shield. And because I stored a close combat, I switch immediately into my Perrserker and close combat the Tangrowth to take it out. So, like I said, not the ideal moveset against Tangrowth, but it does a lot of damage to take it out. So we'll play it to my opponent. On to the next game. So I am going to try Perrserker with another team to see what it's like, but to get onto another great lead, Wing Attack does a lot of damage against a Toxicroak, so I do like it for that reason. I wanted to switch out into a Snorlax, and I was kind of debating what to go in. I should have probably gone into the Perrserker, but like I said, both on backline is weak, so I'm just going to go straight for the cross drops. And I wasn't really counting the licks here, so it was my misplay for actually not keeping a count. I do get a second cross drop off, and I thought my opponent might bait me initially with the Super Power, because then the Super Power doesn't take me out here, even with a Shadow Snorlax. I do survive with a little bit of health, and realistically speaking, I should have just shielded here to kind of keep switch, so I didn't think it was worth it at that point, but yeah, I should have done that. So now the alignment is a little off, but I am able to farm with this Charizard quite a bit, so which is fine. let's see what he has in the back. He has a Lapras in the back, so not great, but because I was able to farm up so much on the Snorlax, I'm able to get this Blast Burn, and I still have energy left over where I can actually get to a second Blast Burn if I need to. So it's just a Surf. I've got 2 shields, so I will obviously use a shield. And now I am going to switch out or get to the Blast Burn and bait with a Dragon Claw. And now I'm going to switch out with some energy loaded on my Charizard. And this puts the Lapras in the range where even though it can't take me out, and it has to obviously, I did it on the charge move where I would catch it as well. So now if Toxicroak does come in, I'm able to throw the Close Combat, and obviously with the debuff I'm able to give it less farm as well. So the Toxicroak can obviously get some energy, get to a Sludge Bomb now. I do throw this Dragon Claw that I had stored earlier, but my opponent obviously will shield this to protect it. But I've got a shield as well for the same reason, because I knew my opponent would try taking me out with the Toxicroak. So because of the life left on the Toxicroak, I'm able to get to this Dragon Claw, which will seal the game. So that was some pretty decent energy management from myself. I was able to kind of clutch that back, even with the misplay on the Snorlax switching. So well played to my opponent. On to the next game. Well, that was a 4-1 set, so a pretty good set. I did enjoy using Perrserker, he was really fun, and as you can see I'm trying a few different lines out, and I did drop a few points. So now on to the next set. So this set I do go 3-2 I believe, again another Magazone, this time not Shadow. So very similar tactic, shield, count the charge moves, sorry fast moves, and shield, commit the shield, because most people do like to throw it straight away, and switch out. So my opponent brings out his own Charizard, which is fine. At this point, because I've got so much energy, I throw the Dragon Claw to kind of bait the shield out, but my opponent didn't fall for it. Because it was a Dragon Breath Charizard, I was alright to switch into my Perrserker, because the Dragon Claws are resisted, and obviously my opponent did take my second shield now with the Charizard. I didn't obviously want to eat a Blast Burn with Perrserker, so my opponent lets that go through, and I'm able to just Shadow Claw it down and have quite a bit of energy. So decent there, but my opponent does have a Surf Fetched in the back, so that isn't great. Had I not wasted my shields earlier on, this match would have been a little different. I had a decent lineup against this his team. I'm able to get the close combat. I think my opponent was counting, and we CMP tied here, and obviously Surf Fetched, being so attack weighted, will win CMP. I do switch into my Charizard, and my opponent switches straight out into the Magnezone. So at this point, obviously, I didn't want my Obstagoon to be matched up with the Surf Fetched, so I'm going to take this Wild Charge, and I should have ideally farmed a bit more, but I knew the Magnezone had loads of energy, so I threw the Cross Chop, and so obviously Surf Fetched has a shield still, and this Cross Chop won't be enough to take it out, so the Surf Fetched can actually farm me down and have energy to throw back on my Charizard. So had I saved a shield here, this would have been different. So I was able to throw this off as well, so this would have KO'd the Surf Edged, but sadly the shield was there to kind of prevent that from happening. So yeah, I am really enjoying Wing Attack Charizard. I think it generates energy a little bit faster and almost evenly as the Fire Spin, but they both have their uses. My team obviously is weak to fighters, so I need a flying type move to cook as coverage, and also Togekiss can be a problem in the back. The Perrserker can't really throw anything decent at it. As you can see here, I'm matched up against a Machamp, so having the Wing Attack is really good here. So I'm able to also shield the Rock Slide. My opponent comes out with a Magnezone, so I could have baited here, but I didn't really want to waste all the energy on a move that didn't get shielded, so I switched straight away into the Obstagoon. I ideally could have saved the energy and kept it for later, but it's fine. So obviously my opponent has burned both his shields now, so that was his biggest mistake, burning his 2 shields early on. So obviously I'm not going to shield this because my Obstagoon is pretty dead against his Machamp, so I'm going to let it go through. And even this next move I'm going to let it go through is just a Mirror Shot to take me out. I am going to bring in the Charizard and just Dragon Claw to kind of take the Magnezone out of the picture. And now I've still got a shield and a Perrserker, so my opponent has a Shadow Dragonite, so really strong team. I think that was triple shadows, so nice spice out from my opponent. So this Dragon Claw will do a lot of damage against a Shadow, and because I was able to get a little bit of energy, I'm able to just foul play this Machamp, and that should be enough to take it out, even though it is a resisted move. So if my opponent had anticipated that swap, he would have been a bit more earlier on to get the Machamp in. But yeah, because of obviously the advantage, I'm able to save the shield, and now I can just Shadow Claw this Dragonite down. The Dragonite really hurts my team, or the Charizard, but you know, managing energy well can actually take it out. So on to the next game. So Charizard into Lapras, so not the best lead. Just need to count the Ice Shards and try to get the switch in on Perrserker. I'm not able to successfully get it off, but my opponent is letting me obviously build a lot of energy. He does switch out onto to Gyarados, but I wasn't going to throw close combat. I think my opponent was expecting me to throw it, but I didn't want to obviously debuff myself straight away onto the safe switch. So most likely the Perrserker actually acts as a safe switch for this team, so Obstagoon can just go to town in the back. Because Perrserker, although he has a lot of high potential attack moves, I do find Obstagoon's tankiness is fairly better and has decent coverage once the fight is gone. So my opponent is going to commit to both shields with these two foul plays, and I am able to outpace it to the foul plays compared to the Aqua Tails. I am going to shield here to kind of maintain switch advantage, and I'm able to get to the foul play, and this keeps me with switch, so that's great. Now I can align my Obstagoon with the Lapras in the back, even though it's loaded with energy. So let's see what my opponent brings out here. He brings out his Shadow Dragonite, which my Charizard is going to love to see, because obviously I've got a Dragon Claw stored. I switch out immediately into the Lapras with my Obstagoon, and at this point I don't have to even shield anything from the Lapras. The Skull Bash will do quite a lot of damage, but because obviously Cross Chop is really good against Lapras and the counters really add up, I don't have to worry about it. 2 Cross Chop is more than enough to take it out. I am going to fully commit to the farm down here. I did think my opponent would throw a Skull Bash here, so I did shield that because I wanted to keep my Obstagoon fairly healthy, and because I knew his Surf won't really take me out. I'm happy to take that and fully farm the Lapras down and throw this Night Slash. I should get to 2 anyway here, so this should get the Dragonite into the KO range. And obviously I do have Shadow Claw stored on my Charizard, which I am going to throw here, because I wasn't sure if I was able to get, or was going to be able to get to a second Night Slash. So yeah, well played to my opponent. On to the next game now. So I believe I do lose this one. So Charizard into a Toxicroak again. So again, the wing attack is really going to put in some work. So as you can see, as you move higher up in the MMR, Lapras becomes very common, and so does Snorlax. I think Gengar was featured on one of the second place to reach rank 24. So Obstagoon is really good for that counter as well. So I also switched straight into my Obstagoon to take care of the Lapras. And like I said before, Surfs don't really do much damage. I'm happy to just throw cross drops. So here I think I will just commit to the farm down, or just get a bit more energy and just throw the cross drop before my opponent gets to a second Surf. Another Surf, because I do want to keep maintain switch. And I also do have a move ready for the next Pokemon that comes in. So my opponent brings out his Toxicroak. The whole idea obviously was to also not have too much health on the Obstagoon, so Toxicroak can't farm me. So yeah, that's fine. I threw the cross drop, did a bit of chip damage, and I'm able to get my Charizard with some energy. So I do shield this, thinking it's going to be a sludge bomb. My opponent just bait me, so not the best use of shield, but sludge bomb would hurt, so I'm better off shielding my Charizard. My opponent lets that go through, and he switches out with energy onto his Obstagoon, and yeah, Obstagoon can really do well against this Perrserker, because of Shadow Claw doesn't really do much, and my opponent is only throwing Night Slashes, which is strange, but I do build up to 2 close combats. I'm going to throw them back to back, seeing if one goes through, but yeah, I knew at this point it was pretty much a lost game, because Obstagoon is fairly tanky and it can do well against Charizard, and he can really do well against my Perrserker. So I was kind of crossing my fingers thinking that he might just let this one go through, but nah, my opponent already saw that coming, so those 2 shields were really clutch for him. I wasn't able to get a shield early, so that wasn't great. I will throw this Blast Burn, and it should get this Obstagoon fairly low, but yeah, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be great, or not looking great. So my opponent was farming down a lot, so I'm not sure what he was doing there. I think he was trying to overfarm, but then I was able to get to the Dragon Claw, so I was able to take it out, and luckily won that game. So I'm not sure what my opponent was doing. Maybe he was trying to get to a Hyper Beam or something, because one Night Slash wouldn't take me out, but I think 2 would have, not sure. So on to the next game, up against a Snorlax lead, so not the best lead. So here I should have ideally stayed in, this is my mistake, so don't switch out into a Snorlax, because Snorlax will always threaten with superpower. I wasn't counting here, and this superpower is really going to hurt. It doesn't take me out, but my opponent obviously took so much health off my Obstagoon. This can actually just turn the game around. And obviously Kingdra itself is such a great Pokemon at turning advantages. So that was my big misplay, is just switching out into the Obstagoon into a Snorlax. I did want to bait out the fighter, thinking maybe, and I should have shielded the first move. So yeah, next time I'll be a bit more careful and learn the matchup a little differently. I mean, I kind of already saw it coming, so I should have been a bit more careful. I just thought it'd be a body slam bait, but it wasn't. So here I bring in my Perrserker because it does resist the Dragon Claws, and I can outpace it to foul play. The Octazookas do hurt, and if he gets the attack debuff, it's not great. But I am able to take the Kingdra out, and if he brings the Snorlax in, and he does, I am able to get to a close combat before he can get to a move. And here I was also hoping that my opponent doesn't shield, but he will, because he knows that obviously I've got close combat. So my opponent obviously has loads of energy stored. He just throw the body slam, so I can commit the shields that I have. So I was holding onto my shields, which was my biggest mistake in this game as well. His blast burn should be close to KOing the Snorlax, and I'm able to farm it down. Here I wasn't sure if I should shield, but I do, because I want to leave my Charizard with decent health, but in the back is a Slowbro. So if it was anything else in the back, or anything that was weak to or just neutral to blast burn, it would have been alright, but Slowbro's very tanky, and yeah, there's nothing I can do that can actually take it out, given I had a bit more energy. So my backline would have been really good against Slowbro, but yeah, the alignment just wasn't correct, and that was my own fault for not shielding the Snorlax. So yeah, well played by my opponent. So that was a 3-2 set. Overall, this team did really well, and if you guys enjoy what you see, please like and subscribe. Thank you, take care.